Good evening to all. This is again the Liberian View. We want to just welcome our supporters and our friends. We want to take this time to say thank you for joining us. And today we're going to be discussing Liberians at home and abroad working together for a brighter future for Liberia. What a timely discussion as we go through our election. Despite our political differences, there's a need to come together, to work together for a better Liberia. And so this evening, we have our own uh, Dr. Caroline Davis. We have our own Dr. Reverend Edwin Lloyd, and our own, the youngest person on this particular discuss today, Mr. David Golowa. So, David, I'm going to take this opportunity to give you the opportunity to introduce yourself, talk briefly about yourself, and then why actually what this topic means to you. And then after that, we know that we have Dr. Caroline and Dr. Reverend Edwin Law, who have always been on this particular platform to give you information that you need and provide some resources. So at the end of this discussion, we're going to have a call of action. We're going to have another series for the 29th of October, and so that we can come up with some proposal to provide or present to any of the presidential candidate that will win. And so we'll start with our own Mr. David to just introduce himself and tell us the meaning of this topic to him, and we'll go to Dr. Lloyd and then to our own Dr. Caroline Davis. David, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity. It's very great. It's an honor to sit with esteemed Liberians. It's also an honor to give my views as we all strive for a better Liberia. So my name is David Golowo Jr. Golowo is a Kele name. Uh, am I clear?
Yes, you are.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, Golowo is a Kele name. So I've gotten many times people call me, oh, is that Nigerian? No, no. It's just a name that comes from my late grandfather, may so rest in peace, was small in stature and very light skinned. So that's a combination of those two words, small and bright. Holomon. Yeah, so that's so my dad just stylized it and shortened it. So that's the origin of the name. And I was, born in Monrovia, grew up there, went to Howard Mission Academy, um, spent a year in Delano where I finished high school. And shortly after I finished high school, I matriculated to of University of Liberia. I'm sorry. I started my journey there as a pre-med, and I was fortunate to get a scholarship, travel to the U.S., and went to school in North Carolina. I've been based in North Carolina for the last 23 years. So I've got my education at McDowell Technical Community College, University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and Arizona State University. So I have both science degrees in engineering. I currently work as an engineer in the pharmaceutical field. So I've worn many hats. I was talking to Miss Kier earlier. I've worked as a process engineer, of equipment validation engineer. Um, I've worked in compliance, quality engineers, and manufacturing, but mostly in the pharmaceutical field. One of the biggest highlights in my most recent memory was working with Fujifilm to make a coronavirus vaccine. I worked as a process engineer back then. That was around 2020. I felt really proud about that because my work involved optimizing the manufacturing process, ensuring the efficacy of the vaccines, and ensuring data integrity. So I was very, very fortunate to be the only Liberian at this site at the time. Um, so that was a great achievement. for me. And I've been fortunate to work with the best, like Merck, Pfizer. They have all my skills. And currently, I'm married. I have three girls. Um, I've adopted two, and my wife and I have one. And but they're all my kids. So they're currently in Liberia. And my wife is en route to join me anytime soon. And of course, I'm in church. I play music. I'm a music minister at church, People Christian Church in Durham, North Carolina. And I'm just happy to be here to contribute. I do business in Liberia. I have a farm. I have several other businesses. So this topic means a lot to me. It means a lot to me because the diaspora is very important. I've seen the diaspora of other countries like Nigeria, Ghana, Israel, and many other countries. Like in the professional field, I've interacted with people from all walks of life, from India and other places, and I've seen how they contribute their diaspora, have improved life back home, businesses, economics, education, but there seems to be a huge gap when it comes to the Liberian diaspora. There's a huge disconnect between the diaspora and Liberian people and the Liberian government. I'm very interested in finding out what it is, the sources of those problems, and how we could mitigate those issues to get a better Liberia. So I have my own take. I have my personal experiences and things that I've researched, and I'm happy to share. And we all can learn and all can make suggestions as to how to improve uh, things in Liberia, especially with as far as the diaspora is concerned. So I'm rest there for now.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gulu. We just want to say we're so proud of you. This is the Liberian View. We also try our best to look for professionals like you to make sure to harness your expertise to see how best we all can join our hands. And Dr. Caroline has been a very, very high someone that's always talking about us coming together. And we are glad that you're part of this team. And we're hoping that at the end of this discussion, Liberians will learn from you, learn from this platform, and see how not just talking today, but how you can join us to put those resources together and come up with a proposal for the Liberian government. And that's why the Liberian View, our mission is to build bridge for the future. And if you look at this particular discussion today, it talks about building bridges, creating opportunities. And so I will turn it over to our own Reverend Dr. Edwin Lloyd, who will just say a few about himself, and then we'll go to Dr. Caroline. And the next voice you'll be hearing would be Dr. Caroline on her perspective when it comes to Liberians at home and abroad working together for a brighter future for Liberia. So, Dr. Reverend Edwin Lloyd, the floor is yours.
Yeah, good afternoon, and Madam Kia, and those who are on this platform. I just want to thank you for joining us, and also thank you, Madam Kia, for the opportunity to join this platform to discuss a very, very pertinent, very important issue concerning our common concern. So I am a local pastor here in Beltsville, Maryland, and also work in the area of rehabilitation and mental health also in the Washington, D.C. area. Also work along with other manage a 501c3 organization, and also connected with various social services initiated within the area. So I'm happy to be and be part of this conversation. And as we move forward, we will give some insight on this topic, which is a very, very interesting topic, something that we need to be in conversation with and all about constantly to see how best we can unite our effort, our forces, our resources, so that we'll be able to have a better future for our country, because we are at stake we also are stakeholders when it comes to the progress of Liberia. So uh, the failure of Liberia is our failure. The progress of Liberia is our progress. So thanks again for having me, and I will pause here until we go into the actual discussion.
Thank you so much, Reverend Dr. Edwin Lloyd. As you heard him say, if you look at it, actually, there are a lot of challenges, there are a lot of different opportunities, and when it comes to the role of the diaspora. So I'm going to turn it over to our own Dr. Caroline, who will also just introduce herself again, and then tell us the importance of this particular topic to her, and then from there, you'll hear her voice when it comes to her perspective, the way forward. Thank you, Dr. Caroline. The floor is yours.
She's muted.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be back on the Liberian View. I am Caroline Davis. I'm an educator slash psychologist. Um, I live in Oklahoma City, but currently in the Maryland area. I used to live in Maryland and moved to Oklahoma, but my children and grandkids are over here. So that's why I'm here. It's fall break. Woohoo! So I have a week off from school. I teach in a classroom, but at the same time, I am a mentor in my school district to other educators. I supervise a tutorial program as well called the Ways Kids program, and I supervise about 40 tutors in that program. I don't really like to define myself by, my position. I just like to define myself by who I think I am, my genuine self. I'm a person of faith. I love the Lord. The Lord is a lot, means a lot. He's the center of my life. I love other people. I enjoy my career as a educator. Um, I enjoy helping people, but most of all, I consider myself a very frank person. I'm a straight shooter. If I like something, I'll tell people I like it. If I don't like something, I just let them know I don't like it, and the chip will fall where it falls. But I am in the business of empowering people. When I'm in the classroom, I'm empowering my students. When I'm mentoring other educators, I'm empowering them to be successful in their field. When I supervise those 40 plus tutors, I am empowering them to know how to help the children, what area they're struggling with. And so I am in the business of empowering others because I like to use this analogy of, give. I can either give you a fish for a day and you can come back to me when your fish is over, or you can let me show you how to fish. So whenever you need fish, you know how to get it on your own. I don't like people being dependent. I really don't like that. I like for people to be independent. So that's just who I am. I love Liberia. Recently, in my social study lessons, we're talking about symbols of Liberia and the kids, of America, and the kids were learning about the stars. The spangled banner and what it meant, and some of the vocabulary words that came up was Lucy. You say you're not hearing me?
No, we're hearing you.
Oh,
I'm
somebody
hearing
said.
you. You're fine.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Some of
Yeah.
the vocabulary that came up was patriotic, and I had to explain to my students what it means to be patriotic. And by the time I was done explaining to them, and I said, okay, so who consider themselves a patriot or being patriotic? The whole class, the hand went up. I consider myself a patriot, a person who is patriotic. I love Liberia. I'm blessed to live abroad, but I love my country. I am married to an American, and since 2013, he's been going to Liberia just about every year. The problems that we have home, they are tremendous, but I think when we collaborate, when we work together, we can solve this problem for ourselves. with the help of God, we can do that. So I am here to just share my view. The topic means a lot to me because I love my country. I'm very comfortable here. God has been really, really good to me, very gracious to me. I came here as a single mom and of 4 children. I raised, by the grace of God, I raised my children well as a single mom. They are all doing very well, very successful, making contributions in significant ways that only God could have done. But I think about my country all the time. And I want to see how we all can work together, you know, to make our country better.
Hey, thank you so much. I think I would just say that I just want to say a little bit about myself because people just know that Lucy Wilson Care, the host, the founder of the Liberian View, but I am also like a public policy individual, health administrator, and I help the needy and I render my services. I love to serve, and I've been doing that for 20 something years, and I'm grateful. Like my sister and friend, Dr. Caroline, just stated, we are here. We're blessed to be here. We have a job, and we're giving back to this country. The most important thing, especially for the Liberian View discourse and this platform, is how we discuss thought-provoking ideas and topics and see how best we can carve it out and others can learn. We provide resources. But for today's topic, Liberians at home and abroad working together for a brighter future is going to be in its series. So this is going to be the first. We are hoping that our supporters and those who want to watch and learn and maybe give back, ask our questions. Based on your questions, we're going to be back on the 29th of October again, and we're going to bring different other guests that will join us on this particular platform. So having said that, please open your join us if you have not yet. If you're on, pay attention, ask us some question. So right now, because I'm going to give the floor to not to our only lady on the platform, Dr. Caroline, who will start the discussion from her perspective. Dr. Caroline, the floor is yours. And I'm hoping that all the other panelists will please just stay on and listen in because from there we can ask some questions. Dr. Caroline, the floor is yours. And thank you.
Thank you. Is Reverend Lloyd still on? I don't see him. Is he still on? Okay, let's move on.
Yeah, just go on. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So the topic of Liberia abroad and at home working together for a brighter future is a very interesting topic, and what that means to me, what I think about that is that you know, it takes all of us, like I said in my introduction, it takes all of us working together, to move our country forward. Um, the young man who spoke earlier, what's his name? I'm sorry.
Your name?
David. David. Okay. David said something, and he said that it's going to take all of us, and it's really going to take all of us to build our country, to help the country get a brighter future. Why do we want Liberia to get a brighter future? A brighter future for ourselves and a brighter future for our children and our grandchildren. As an educator, I've been blessed in this country to teach in various communities and some very affluent communities, some not so affluent, but still I've been able to impact for the past several years. I would say almost 2 decades now of teaching in this country or more, to impact generations. Some of my students that I've taught, they are other college and they are working and they are very successful. And one of the things I've seen, about other people that live in this country coming from other countries is that they are here, but their hearts are home, and they take their children back home. They take their grandchildren back home to see their country where the parents came from. you know. So for me, it's not just about me wanting Liberia to get better. I want Liberia to get better so when my children go back home, they are proud of their country. When my grandchildren go back home, they are proud of their parents and grandparents' country, you know. So it's important for us to work together. Um, I believe that the people back home can help us here in some ways on what we need to do to collaborate. And I also believe that we here can work with the people back home. We are not against each other. It's not from the perspective of uh, the people home are better than the people abroad or vice versa. It's not from that perspective. And I know that some Liberians do have that perspective. However, we need to get past all of those things. We need to get past I'm country, you are conquer. And if those things are defining us, then we are completely off. You know, we are missing a point. It's not a conquer versus the country. It's not those abroad versus those home. If that's how we are defining ourselves, then that we define ourselves as Liberians. You know, we are Liberians, and we should focus on one goal, and the one goal is to make our country better, to enhance. And so let's brainstorm. You know, let's brainstorm as Liberians on what we can do. You know, people home can say that they are doing more than we are abroad, and people abroad cannot say, oh, we are doing more than you guys, because then it seems like we are in a competition. And usually in a competition, only one person wins, right? Or only one team wins, right? So we are not in a competition, because if we Liberia abroad and at home work together, if we act like we are in a competition, one person gonna win and one person gonna lose. And someone said earlier that if we fall together, it's Liberia. We rise together, it's Liberia. So I am looking forward to see how the discussion go. But the bottom line of my thought is that we need to collaborate. We need to learn from the people. We can come from abroad and go home and act like we are the expert for of everything or for everything. You know, we have to listen to them, and they too cannot be apprehensive about us. Oh, I have heard people say, oh, you come from that America, you live in there, you deny America here. We do business back home, by the way, just like David said he's doing. You think you come and bring your American idea over here, then I America here, then I America. They got to lose that mentality. Nobody trying to change anyone, but we have to get past just doing things any kind of old way in our country, and we got to get and work as people. You know, people are principle, and put principle in place, put rules in place, have expectation. We come to this country and we get adjusted to those patterns, so the people at home can also get adjusted to the pattern of we need to work together. Yes, we need to follow rules, we need to follow law. Like, how can we do it together? You know, so each of us abroad, the people and people that are in the country, nobody should think that they are better than the other. We have to find a way how we can work together and move forward. That's just my thought on that topic. That's
Thank
more,
you
but
so
I
much,
don't want to
Dr.
take up the whole time. I mean, I could go on, but others
Yeah.
have their perspective as well.
It's very good because you're going to come back. We have questions and questions pulling in. Very interesting. And we just want to remind you all, as Dr. Caroline said, we need to get past you being Congo or you being country. We also have to get past you being abroad or you back home. And just to show a little perspective, um, I remember when we were home. It was like Congo people and country people. But now, interestingly, once you're in the States, there are people from America, which I'm very happy for, because I mean, I'm happy in the sense that we are not divided up in the diaspora, the people from America. But what we're talking about now, how we can link and collaborate and respect one another. And that's exactly what Dr. Caroline just spoke to. You know, we should lose that mentality of saying, "Oh, the people from America," because the Congo people, the Congo people things. I think it relaxed a little bit, so it's more like the people from America. So we all here, whether in the diaspora, you're called the people from America, and that's what we don't want, because we are all Liberians, as Dr. Caroline rightly stated. So we're gonna go quickly to our own David, who will also give his perspective, and then we'll hear from our own Dr. Reverend Edwin Lloyd. Dr. Reverend Edwin Lloyd, who will also give his perspective. And we have about 10 questions coming in. Very interesting. So, David, the floor is yours. And thank you.
So,
David, we can't hear you.
We're not hearing you.
You sound so far away.
Okay, do you hear me now?
Better.
Am I clear?
Are you on a speaker or what?
No.
Yeah, we're hearing you. Okay, yes, you're fine.
Okay, so I think I just need to get closer to my the screen. So when it comes to this topic, it's very near and dear to my heart, because I'm in Liberia. I've interacted with a lot of
Very good.
locals. I've interacted with a lot of Liberians in the diaspora, and I've, as an engineer, I have decided to take this, to look at it as an engineer would. I have try to look at it from an analytical perspective, an analytical approach. So my thing is, what's the root cause analysis for us not working together as Liberians? What are the root causes? And then how do we mitigate these root causes or the gaps? So first and foremost, like, when we have issues, we find out what caused it, the how, the why. So, and I tend to categorize it into three parts. Trying to look at the diaspora Liberians, what have they contributed to the problem? What has the locals contributed, and what has the government contributed? Because we cannot just clump everything together, and we have to compartmentalize it, and then it'll be easier to mitigate any issues that we might find out. So the way I look at it, okay, being in the diaspora myself, I've just from my personal experience, I've seen that a lot of the time, like, beyond diaspora go back home, and sometimes there's this air of I'm better than you, I'm more educated than you, I have more resources than you, I have more funding than you, I live a better life than you. So as a result, am I clear? I think so.
Yeah, you're clear.
Okay. So as a result, there's this issue in Liberia between the diaspora Liberians and the local Liberians, and let us be mindful that when we talk about the diaspora, within consideration all Liberians outside the geographical boundaries of Liberia. And the good thing about it is that almost everywhere that we reside outside of Liberia, life is a lot better. Even Liberians that reside in, let's say, Africa, in Ghana, in Nigeria, they have seen a lot more than the typical Liberians in Liberia have not seen. Common thing: electricity, water, good education. So sometimes the diaspora Liberians, and I'm being very candid here, sometimes we tend, it's not everybody, but I've seen it back home. Some Liberians tend to have this air of, okay, I'm better than you. And it rubs people the wrong way on the ground. It's not everybody, but I've seen it. So I think that's a contributing factor to some of the issues that we have. But has it been addressed succinctly? I don't think so. Because I've seen a lot of, like, What's I forgot the doctor's name. I thought I heard her name.
Dr. Caroline Davis?
Okay, Dr. Davis. Dr. Davis just mentioned something. Oh, we shouldn't, like we shouldn't feel that we're better than you, or yeah, it's exactly that thing happens. And have we addressed it? No. How can we address it? I will come back to the how, or how we can address it. Now I'm looking at the locals. So, like I told you, my analytical approach is what caused this problem, what caused the gaps. So, the diaspora Liberians, ourselves, what are we contributing to the problem that lies between us and the people back home? And then now coming to the locals, what are the locals doing? There's a lot of distrust for local Liberians. We in the diaspora would give money to them to do business, they're not honest. A lot of the times our people are not honest. And you will give money to somebody and they will take it and give you stories.
Yeah.
Corruption, it is at the core of our society, in the families, in the churches, in government. Nothing has been done about it from the foundation of our country. It goes unabated. So people tend to take bribes for everything. And so all these things that are embedded in our society tend to overflow into everything else that we do. So and now the government, people always point out the government, but again, the government has a huge role they can play. What has the government contributed to the issues, diaspora Liberians and local Liberians working together? And I would just point out a few things. The government has the lack of willpower to adjudicate anything, to even implement laws, to enforce rules. We have every rule you can think about in the books, but do we implement those rules? No. People throw trash out. I mean, like people drive on they call it the third lane. People take bribes. Nothing is done. So our society, at some point, it seems as there's no law. There's no law and order. There's no respect for the rule of law. But if Liberians leave Liberia and come to other countries, they excel. They follow the laws in those countries. So in our government, the lack of willpower to do anything, even the judicial system, to even adjudicate cases, it's a problem. So now you see a lot of Liberian diaspora don't want to do anything back home. So this is where the disconnect comes from, because we don't trust the government. The government is not in our favor. That's why a lot of us feel, even people on the ground, they feel that the government is not in their favor. So even foreigners, sometimes they don't trust the government. For a common example, Jorgen Schiedemann, a German national, was killed in Buchanan. There's a law yard, a manager on January 22nd, 2020. Okay, another Hung Chio, a Korean businessman, was robbed of $155,000 in Liberia. What happened? The government did nothing. They went to court. The perpetrators went free. Even the Sable mining case was such a big case, and we get the names Big Boy 1, Big Boy 2 came out in 2016. That case stayed in court for 3 years, 2019. Some of the biggest names in our government, Ronnie Sherman and a host of other big names, they went scot-free. They adjudicated the case and they found that they didn't commit any crime. There was no bribery involved. And when they tried to change the PPC laws in Liberia so they can give it to the Sable mining company in Great Britain to have all access to the Wologisi Mountain, nothing happened to that case. They went scot-free. So the government has been very, very detrimental in these things. So as a result of all the bad news, diaspora Liberians see what's going on in there. We got a lot of Liberians here that have good education. They have access to financial resources. They have connections that they could take businesses from here, NGOs from here, go back to Liberia and improve lives. However, how will you take your business to go Liberia, or how will you do anything good in that country when the government has failed the rule of law? No, it's an issue. Cases are not adjudicated appropriately. If something happens, you're on your own. Even security. Most recently, we heard our president saying everyone should get CCTV for themselves. So how will a serious-minded business person or Liberian want to go back to any business? Even look at how dysfunctional our RIA planes going into our country. It's dark. The planes cannot land. Even the Freeport, the taxes and levies are so high that you cannot even get things into the port. Most of the time, people use the ports of Guinea to bring things into the country. So all those things, they are tied in because they affect the diaspora Liberians. They do not give us any good confidence. It reduces the confidence in the government, and we cannot do anything. A lot of people say, look, I'd rather stay in the US where I'm comfortable, where things are going on fine with me, and I don't want to go back over there because my security, my business is I don't have any I don't have any knowledge of how my business will prosper or will be protected by the government or by security. And this is the predicament that we have in Liberia. So back to my point, the root causes. And the root causes, I'm tying it to the diaspora ourselves. We have contributed to it. The locals have contributed, and to a greater extent, the government has contributed to it. But how can we mitigate these things? So in engineering, this is what we call the corrective action and preventive action, the CAPA. So I will talk more about that, some of my suggestions as to how we can mitigate these issues. So I want to give Reverend Lloyd the time to talk. I don't know.
Okay, thank you so much, David. That was so great. I just love the Liberian View panelists because we have great thinkers, resources, and whatnot. So right now, we heard what David said. What are the root causes of our problem? Liberians abroad and Liberians at home working together for a brighter future. You have stated the lack of government control, lawlessness, and security. So who want to go to Liberia when there's no security? Who want to go to send their goods to the Freeport when it's so high? So I prefer taking it to Guinea where I can get it free. So I mean, bring up your questions, come up with suggestions, let us know. And so at the end of the day, Dr. Caroline Davis is going to come back. David is going to come back to tell us as to how we can resolve how can we resolve some of these problems, some of these challenges. We don't have all the answers, but we will be relying on you when you ask your questions and make some suggestions. So if you want to make suggestions, go to Liberian View, send us an email, the Liberian View at gmail.com, and we will be able to take to respond to it. And then also you can use this the YouTube page and the Facebook page as you're watching. Hold in your questions. We're getting questions, and from there we'll be able to answer. So the next voice you're going to hear will be from our own Dr. Reverend Edwin Lloyd from his perspective. And we'll go back to Dr. Caroline.
Thank you, Manakia, for the platform again. The topic, Liberians at home and abroad working together for a brighter future. And our young brother just alluded on the fact that if you are working together, the parties involved in that togetherness must take upon certain responsibilities. So responsibilities goes on both sides in order for the togetherness to occur. So the Civil War in Liberia created a very unique social structure or societal structure for Liberia. The Civil War brought the diaspora, and then also we have the Liberians who live at home. But the common ground that we have is that we all are what? Liberians, whether abroad, whether living in Liberia, we are all Liberians. And so therefore, the task of nation building falls on all of us as Liberians, regardless of where we are located, where we have made our home temporarily or permanently. We still have an obligation to our country and as responsible citizens. And so therefore, in our situation created by the war, what we need to do as people who uh, want to see a prosperous future for our country is to take advantage of this the present um, social or citizenry arrangement that's in existence now when it comes to the citizenship or the residency of Liberians. We need to take advantage of that. Our young brother just alluded to the fact that the diaspora has created a very unique category of Liberians. Um, the positivity from the Civil War involved the fact that Liberians were able to travel abroad, were able to take advantage of the resources of other nations, and improve themselves. Were able to gain economic strength from the stable political structure of those nations that we decided to reside in particular the Western nations. We flooded to the Western nations because the Western nations and are developed nations. They have stable social political structure, so therefore it gave us the opportunity to strive. So that is a benefit of the Civil War. But what happened after that? All right, how can we as Liberians together take advantage of the social strata of various Liberians wherever they find themselves, and so that the country as a whole can benefit. And so the Liberians abroad and the government of Liberia should be able to seize the opportunity that rests within the abilities of the diaspora. So the Liberian diaspora is one of the most trained and educated financially strong group of Liberians we have right now. And as one of the presidential candidates doing our interview with him previously, that what are you going to do to tap upon the resources that are within the diaspora? The diaspora account for remittance to Liberia. Every we have millions of dollars that flow from the hands of the diaspora into the Liberian economy. All right, what is the government doing so that that the funds that flow into the economy will remain in the economic cycle and be able to turn the economy in a positive direction? But that is not happening because one thing in basic economics, you know that when it comes to the maintaining of cash flow, you must be able to have a local economy that is driven by the private sector, but the private sector that is controlled by the indigenous people. If that's not happening, you will have capital flight. So the all of the remittance that go into Liberia and is going not in the hands of Liberians, it going into the hands of foreign investors, foreign businessmen. For example, if you send money to your brother and sister, it gets to them. But how long will that money stay in the Liberian society circulation? It will stay there probably for less than a minute because they are taking that money and they're going to spend it into the Indian man store or Lebanese man store. And Lebanese man taking that money and then send it back to his country. The money is not staying in Liberia. Liberia is not benefiting from the money that's coming from the diaspora there. But that is the responsibility of the government to design very and strong economic policies that could have the country benefit from the remittance. Very important. And that's the very, very a strong economic channel that has been established, but Liberia is not benefiting from that economic channel. So working together also entails that the government of Liberia see the importance of the diaspora, lives with the diaspora. Will not consider the diaspora to be a foreign group, but just a group of Liberians that through situations were coerced or forced to reside in a foreign land. And that's exactly what's happening. All right. So the environment in Liberia, it should be made conducive for investment. The environment in Liberia should be made in conducive for Liberians to be able to transfer entrepreneurship, their businesses. All right. And there should be strong policies that will make it feasible for you to just go and invest in Liberia. But right now, it's difficult with the laws and policies. It's so difficult and discouraging for you to go and invest in Liberia, because when you send goods to the free port, it's very difficult to even free your goods from the free port. All right, even if you have a philanthropic organization carrying supplies to help Liberians, they frustrate you so much at the free port that you will not even want engage in activity again to take things back home to help people. So so we are becoming our own enemy, because we are not working together in a positive way for a better future for Liberia. The diaspora now has the opportunity to rejuvenate our nation economically and socially, and so therefore the Liberian government should not see the expertise within the diaspora population as a threat, but should see it, to embrace it as the means through which that we all can work together and tap upon the diaspora, utilize the expertise within there, be able to offer people attractive jobs that they will come home and contribute their quota and their education, instead of using the education to contribute to the advancement of the Western world that already advanced. All right. So it's important. I was in Liberia in June, and it was disheartening, but yet I still have hope in the nation, because things can change not in a long period of time once you introduce policies that will drive the country forward. So within the diaspora also, let me just speak on that. We're in the diaspora. We are not united in the diaspora. The diaspora is not a cohesive force working together to be a power broker in Liberia. The diaspora should be a power broker in Liberia. When the diaspora speak, the government of Liberia should be able to listen if we were together, if we're combining our resources together to engage in national projects. All right, and the diaspora can raise millions of dollars to finance some of the health and educational needs of Liberia, but that's not happening. We're in the diaspora. There are political fights, there are political wars going on within the organizations that have been organized to be able to draw us together. People are becoming very vindictive and disrespectful towards each other. Antagonistic and having animosity for no reason against each other, instead of we Liberians coming together to put our resources together to work in our own interests. Because once Liberians thrive, you'll be able to take your family from here and travel for vacation Liberia and have the joyous time that you can have. You'll be able to go and build your house where you can go and spend time and then come back to the United States. Others who are for other countries are doing. Let's take the example of Ghana. Ghana is taking advantage of the diaspora. Ghana is taking advantage of the African American financial power and ability and drawing that to them through tourism. But Liberia has a richer heritage, a richer connection with the United States than Ghana. But Liberia is not taking advantage of that opportunity. All right. So we should learn from our neighbors and begin to see what is best for us. And instead of looking upon ourselves and thinking what we can get for ourselves, we should be able to think about what we can do together so that we all can strive. All right. And most of us who probably are over 50 and the next 20 years will be in our retirement stage, right? So if we want to retire in Liberia, if that be possible, once we pass the working age, we'll just be sitting home, and waiting for our children to come and say hi to us and looking through the window every day, where we can be back home and be vibrant and still be productive. But the climate in Liberia will not allow that if we do not make the plan and we do not work together to allow that to happen. For many of us to have a safe, joyous retirement where we spend the rest of our lives in peace and in our yard and in our home where we can eat our local food and be happy. That cannot happen because and then I just grieve for my late father because he wanted to be in Liberia before he passed away. He wanted to be home in his yard and having a good time, have everybody around him, but he could not do that. He could not do that. And so it's the same situation with many of our elderly in this nation because the country is not conducive. We are not working together for our own future and for a better future for all of us. So maybe we will say, oh, Liberians back there and it's them. No, but it's us also. The time will come that we will need Liberia, but Liberia will not be able to meet our needs because we did not prepare Liberia to meet our needs. So it's very important that the political leaders, as they go to election this week, the Liberian people will be conscientious about these things I'm talking about. The leaders will understand that the future of Liberia is the future of our children. And that if you corrupt and you steal, you are stealing from the upcoming generation. You are stealing the education, you are stealing the health, you are stealing the future when you steal and invest some money that's supposed to go into social projects that will develop the young people of Liberia. You are stealing from their future. And so as people go to elect and leaders of the country, they should be very conscious about these things. And not elect somebody because they are popular or because they got name or because they this, they that. Elect them because they have sound policies that will take the country forward, whether you know them or not, whether they are popular or not. And so this is a mentality that we should have at Liberia working together. Even we in the diaspora, we should be able to come behind a single candidate. Instead of having ourselves all over, we should come behind a single candidate and support that candidate financially so that we can make the change in Liberia so that we will benefit from it. Because we have the opportunity to do that. We have the only opportunity to make the change in Liberia that we want. But we are not together here in the diaspora also. But this is very important. And this is a discussion. I hope we have subsequent panel discussion on this very particular topic. Moving forward between now and maybe December, we can continue this topic because it's important that we discuss this and we bring other folks online who are other stakeholders or other professionals and well wishers of Liberia to come and discuss this topic to see how we can be able to chart a course that we will be able to work together. I thank you very much. I'll hold on for now. And,
thank you so much. Thank you so much, Reverend Lloyd. And then especially what you said. The Civil War created a societal structure. And as two structure, he stated that the diaspora and Liberians at home. And people were not forced to come here. Some people didn't come here because they wanted to come here, but because of the war, they're here. And that's no fault of theirs. People who are in Liberia are there because that's where the war kept them. And that's where they've desired to be. And so and then the next thing he talked about was the disunity in the community, in the diaspora itself. That's so true. There's a lot of disunity here, that we need to work and fix because not only pointing fingers at those at home, there are a lot of disunity here. And like you said, you rightly stated, by now, the diaspora should be in a better position to have one political party. Because right now, when you hear countries talking, they talk about Kwame Nkrumah, they talk about all those leaders. They never mention William V.S. Talbot. They never mention anything that we did towards anything in Liberia, like hosting the people from South Africa, working towards Africa, the OAU, the United Nations. Every great things that historically that we did is being buried because we're not together to talk about it. If you want to talk about Talbot, they call you 2-week party, but he did something for Africa. You want to talk about Totman or something else. So when can we come together and talk as one people and give honor to those who honor is due? If you see Nigeria, you see right now, I think in Ghana, they have a center for Kwame Nkrumah. They have everything about him, but we cannot have it because we are tribalistic. So, I mean, this discussion we're going to go on, like you stated, maybe even for 2024, because it's very, very important that we try to reset our mind, that we in the diaspora today, we have different political parties because of our own selfish gain. Before we turn over to Dr. Caroline, I just want to say that someone was giving an analysis about Nigerians in the diaspora. Maybe the next discussion we have that I will show it presented. And we're talking about Nigerians in America and what they've done, the education. About I think 16 to 20% are doctors. They're this, and they are all. I mean, everyone have their differences, but they are working together for their country. So this discussion, at the end of the day, want to see how we'll work together for Liberia, and how 2029 will come. We all will be here if we all are here to be talking about one political party, because by now, for our educational standard and our exposure and what we see in the great United States, in Europe, wherever you are, you know the difference, what is now in Liberia and what it should be. So I'll turn it over to our next panelist, our own Dr. Caroline. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Laura talked about a lot, and so did David. But I want to go back to some of the things that they said, because I want to piggyback on some of those things. First of all, I should say that Liberians abroad and Liberian coming together, Liberia at home and Liberian abroad coming together, working together for a better future, it's not going to happen in isolation of the government. The government has to play a crucial part. In fact, the main role in doing it. The other countries, the diasporas, they do well because their government is instrumental. Our government has to be instrumental in utilizing all of the skills that Liberians have, whether we are abroad or whether we are at home, right? But here are some of the things I want to piggyback on. David talked about the government lack of willpower, the lack of willpower of the government to just implement basic rules, okay? My question is, if the government lacks the willpower to develop the nation and to run the nation, why do they still want to be in power? What is the purpose for wanting to be in power? Okay, if Liberia abroad and Liberia home gonna work for a better future, those are the things we need to be looking at. Let those, if you can, I mean, come on, we who live abroad, and even some organizations that are at home, if you're on your job, if you're doing your job, and our brother David talked about some of the things that he's done, and he's been very, very successful at that, and we are very proud of him, because the success of one Liberian is the success of every Liberian, right? But David, I bet if the Lord gave you the opportunity, and if you went there, you didn't have the willpower to even succeed in school or even on your job, do you think you will still have your position? You won't have your position, right, David? You won't have your position at all. So why do we want to keep people in government that don't care for the nation? They don't care for the people. They have no love for the country. They just love themselves. They love their pocketbook. They are not developing. One day I was just thinking about the whole thing. And the Spirit of God spoke to me. He said they are not interested in developing the country. And I'm not talking to any particular person. They are not interested in developing the country. They are interested in developing their pocketbooks. The people that are supposed to care for the country are the people that are destroying the country. Okay, so if they don't have the willpower, give it over to somebody who loves the country, who has the willpower to go to to take the country forward, who has the ability to engage both the people at home and the people abroad to bring us together so that we move forward as a country. So that's one of the things. The other thing is we talk about the
Mm.
lawlessness in Liberia is completely contributed, in my opinion, by our government. You know, our government official. I mean, my husband, he's an American, and he went to Liberia and he decided he's adventurous. This is a Vietnam veteran, right? So he's very adventurous. He wanted to drive in Liberia. And I was like, honey, we got driver, don't do it. He said, I would do it. So he did it. And I wanted him to have the experience, right? So he's driving in Liberia. We're in our lane. Government official jump from out of the lane and come into his lane. And he's like, he's not moving. And then the government officials, they get mad and they're pointing their hands at him. Hey, you're supposed to, and so he's a no nonsense person. So he just put his window down and say, "You people are the one causing the problem in this country. You should stay in your lane." And it may seem like it's a small thing or but people have died from that, from government officials just leaving the lane. I heard, I don't know how true it is, but I heard they even passed a legislation for them to be able to use the third lane. What is the doggone third lane? So, so hold on 1 second. So the government is a huge contributing factor to the problems that we have in our nation. Let's call a spade a spade. And I know people back home, I was talking with somebody, and the person was saying, uh, they're in contact this week. Last week, they were in contact with some Liberia. This is an American and trying to get Liberia to be more vocal about issues in the country. And I told her, many Liberians can't, because if you have family members at home, and those who live at home, they can do it because of the different risk factors, right? But we cannot continue to be scared in our pants because people are going to do X, Y, and Z. We have to stand up for the country that we love. We are blessed to be here, but our home, there's a song that says, home is where the heart is. We are here for our hearts at home. Okay, so that's one of the things that I want to address. For example, you have people from abroad that carry business. David alluded to that. Carry business people back home. Some are local, some are Liberians, but some are not Liberians. They go back home to try to invest in the nation. Our government official, the first thing when you take them there, the first thing they ask you, okay, so what's in it for me? All right. I can give several examples. I won't call names, but they're always looking for what's in it for them. And as long as we have that kind of selfish attitude, the country will not go forward. When leaders come into power and all they are thinking about what's in it for them, we are not going to go forward. We'll be in the same place. We want to move forward. Recently, there was a Liberian who lived in Korea, in South Korea for a long time, came back home doing business, but he kept his connection in South Korea. So we went to Liberia and we stayed at this person's place, and this person brought a whole booklet, and one of the professors in the university that he knew in South Korea had put together a proposal for Liberia to be able to get money in the excess of billions of dollars for development. And this man went ahead. This Korean professor went ahead and he broke it down in the air. And this is free money, by the way, free money. He broke it down in the different systems how the money can be used and everything, and for us to, I think it's the Pan Asian for Liberia to gain some money from that. But this young person looked at it and he said he went to talk to somebody. He made appointment to go talk to someone, and the first thing the person asked him was, "Okay, so how much I would get from this? How much in it for me?" Okay. So when he shared that with us, and I said, "Well, hold on to it until we saw it, we read it, we even spoke to the. He put us on the phone and we spoke to the guy in Korea while we were in Liberia, and the guy even broke down the plan even further to us. But we cannot present this to the government, because when you got government officials in place, talking about what's in it for me, how we gonna move forward? How are we going to move forward? So those are things that we need to address, and this is things that not just Liberians at home should address it, but Liberians abroad should address it too. If we're going to work together for a brighter future, we need to be more united so we can address these things and let our government know our eyes are open. you know our
Yeah.
eyes our eyes are open. Then um Dr. Lloyd talk about Liberian, in a diaspora coming together to be a power broker. That would be something wonderful to happen. I don't support the thing that we all should stand behind one political party. I don't support that, but I do support the fact that we need to come together. Um, we need to come together, hold together, and hold our government officials accountable. I support that. um I think we should hold our government official accountable, and the way we can do that, Liberian living abroad, if we are united, you know, and we are working together with our Liberian folks on the ground, we can hold our government officials accountable, and when we speak, but they have to see us doing something though. If you're not having an impact, you're just not going to have an impact, period. you know but we need to come together for us to be able to do that. In terms of us having supporting one political party, I don't know what frankly, my view could change, but I wouldn't support that, because if there's one political party that we are all standing behind, a view does not align with the view of all of us, because we are a lot of Liberians living abroad. Then should we just say because we want to support one political party? I think people should have the freedom of choice, just like we have freedom of choice here in the United States to vote for whoever you want to vote for. But the fact, and that should not interfere with our contribution as or our part as Liberians that live abroad, and Liberians that are united to help the nation. Um,
Okay.
and then he talked about tourism, and how Dr. Lord talked about tourism, and how Ghana is making uh, a lot of money through that. They're using it well. Okay, we can do the same thing, but we don't have people in place that will encourage that. Number one. Number two, it's all about, it goes back again to what's in it for me. And if we got government officials that are just like there for what's in it for them, we won't be able to do it. The other thing is trust, and David talked about that. I agree with David, and we have experienced that. We can trust the people, even your own family people that live at home. I can trust my family people that live at home, because the problem is, the thing that they have this mentality that when you live abroad, you have access, you got a money tree growing in your backyard, so you can go right in your backyard, pick the money, pick the money off the tree and send it to them. They don't understand that we work our behinds, excuse my expression, we work our behinds off really hard to get what we get. some of us choose not to be on government assistance. From the time we came to this country, we made the decision not to be on government assistance. We work our behinds off well. And it's not like back home where you show up to the office at 12 o'clock in the afternoon and you're ready to leave by 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock and you still get paid. No, it's not like that. So when you send your money home, I am getting ready to, just getting myself prepared, because my coming to this country was not a choice. It was something that I was instructed by the Lord to do. And I'm glad I obeyed and I came. And and now I'm getting ready. He hasn't released me yet to go back home, but I know eventually he will. So I'm preparing myself. And so we engaged in, and I spoke to my husband. Initially, he didn't want to go move to Liberia. Oh, honey, that country, how the people are and all of that. I say, we can make it work. So now he's ready to move to Liberia when the Lord releases us, right? But we are building back home, and we can trust the people. The people got stories. They eat your money. They got stories. Oh, man, this. Oh, papi, this. And so it's an issue of trust. I don't think they trust us. And some of us definitely don't trust some of them over there, you know and like I say, even your own family people will do that to you. And so as a result, you have the foreigners there that are living well in our country, enjoying our resources, all the crushed rocks we had to buy for our house. Okay, it came from it came from it came from I mean, the Chinese are in charge of it. You want crush, right? The Chinese are in charge of it. The Indians are steroids. The Indians are the one manufacturing steroids in Liberia. You gotta buy. Why is that? And this is why we abroad and we are those that are at home need to come together unified so that we take our country back. We just need to take our country back. We need to be in a place where Liberians, another thing that's going on, the government will easily give contracts to Lebanese and Indians and other foreigners than to their own Liberian people. And that is twofold. One, those foreigners know how to bribe them to get what they want. But on the other hand, when they give the contract, I've heard, when they give contracts to Liberians played around with it. They played around with it. They either do a substandard job or they don't just do the job. Some of them even took the money and they went and they never came back. So we have a tremendous problem at home. But today I went to a different church, and the church that I went to, the pastor said, where there is a problem, this problem and solution walk hand in hand. He said it's just like a lock and a key, right? If you have a lock, you have to have a key to open that lock. So where we see these problems, let's look and let's find a solution and let's work together to resolve these issues and let us go forward. Every issue should not be resolved before we want to go forward, but let's take it one step at a time. And I believe as we take it one step at a time, we can succeed. When we get one solution to one problem, we can move on to the other. We don't want to solve all the problems at the same time, but we can look at one issue at a time as Liberians abroad and Liberians that are in the diaspora, so we can move forward. Liberians at home.
Thank you so much, Dr. Caroline. So if you're watching, we've talked about the role. I think we've talked about the role of the diaspora, the initiative, and the need to collaborate. We also heard some success stories, some example of the challenges that are faced by the diaspora. I can imagine sending your container to Liberia and I have to go to Guinea to send it there. And Liberia is losing some revenue because all kind of bribery and stuff going on. Those things need to change. So we talked about also the challenges that are faced. If you look at it technically, all this stealing and everything is poverty. And not because you don't have or you've not worked, that means you have to steal. But based on poverty, because some people are really, really suffering. And then when you try to help them at home, as alluded by everyone on this platform, the instead of helping themselves, they take your money. So someone just asked a question. So I'm gonna this question is gonna be directed to David. Is amidst all these challenges, these problems, we have our challenges too. Some of our fears is that we don't trust some, even our families, as Dr. Carolyn rightly stated, because you send some money to your family, they may not even answer the phone again. You buy equipment for them. I'm an example. You buy equipment for them. You try for you to do business. They, as soon as they get the equipment, the clothes, they don't even call you anymore until they get into problem. Then they call you. So in the diaspora, mainly, we are not united, as the platform rightly stated. So if you're not united, you can't work together. We try to tear one another down. I just came recently from the ULA, the Union of Liberian Association presidential election, and they end up in a cancellation because we can't work together. And if it's not my will, that means it's not the will of everyone. And then so based on that, there are a lot of different examples showing that we can't work together. Either you turn over power to someone and you're being discredited, and a lot of different things going on in the community. We cannot turn over power and work together. So there are a lot of things going on in the diaspora that needs to be healed, that needs to be but you can't wait for everyone to heal because you'll not do anything. Like Dr. Reverend Lloyd stated clearly, 20 years from now, those in the 50s, those are in the 50s, you're going to be 70. If you're in the 40s, you're going to be 60 years old. So if you look at that, the few that will come together, like even when people go watch the game, some people are sitting on the fence, some people are on the field, some people somewhere. They just don't want to join at that particular time. Some people want to see the finished product to sell. Some people want to delegate their hands to fix the product. So how can those who want to work together come together to work? So at the end of the day, this is what we want, and this is what the Liberian View want, to bring people who are willing, amidst all the challenges, to work together. Because you can't have 99% of the people coming together to work. So someone is asking, amidst everything, how can the Liberians in the diaspora contribute effectively to the development of Liberia while respecting the needs and desire of those living in the country, in Liberia? I mean.
Okay. So that's a question directed to me, right? That's a question directed to me.
Yes. I said before you come in with any input, can you address that question before you give your comment?
But that was part of that particular question was part of my answer. So if I it's hard to just give a straight shot answer, but what I would say is that the diaspora Liberians, there's so many things we can do. We can work with the government through the embassies, and I've seen that in other countries. I have colleagues in Ghana or Nigeria. They have very, very strong communities, and the embassies make the ease of doing business in their respective homes. It makes it so easy for them. They have trust. They have created endowments, trust funds, wherein a Ghanaian who is busy here in the U.S. or anywhere around the world wants to do business, they don't necessarily have to go back home. They can send funds. It's put in an endowment fund or trust fund, and they pool their resources. They do different businesses. People do that, like maybe groups of friends or however they want to do it. There's a process to it, but the funds are sent there, and then it's used for the intended purpose or purposes, and they go there every once in a while and they check and they see things are being done. My roommate in college, he hails from Ghana, and one thing I learned from him, and I made a bet with him, and I lost the bet. About trust in the Ghanaian system. So he didn't have money to send back, we're poor college students. I was at UNC Chapel Hill, and he was trying to send like $300 to his mom, but he didn't have enough money to send to pay the fees. So he told me he was going to put it in the envelope and send it. I'm like, dude, it's going to be stolen at the post office. He said, no, I'll put it in there and it'll go to my mom and she'll get it. I'm like, okay, I want to put a bid on it. A couple weeks later, his mom got the money and she called, singing and dancing and taking him. I was like, what? That can never happen in Liberia. You put $300 in an envelope and send it to Liberia. Somebody else is going to own it. So one answer to that question is trust, building trust. I think we can build trust in the diaspora here because the government has mechanisms that we could use for the embassies. We have the different Liberian communities. Almost every community in Liberia has a Liberian association, every state. So you could use those at the local level, at the national level, like the EULA. And if the embassy is willing to work with them, create programs that will build trust. Because nobody wants to just put their money somewhere they've been burnt before, they don't want to go back there again. So is the government willing to do something like a trust fund? Okay, do a trust fund and put it on invest with a big bank like Chase Manhattan Bank. Let them be trustees of the funds, and then let the third party determine how we will what will be done with this money, or the investors to say, look, we want this done, and let somebody else manage it. Have wealth management groups in the U.S. So many things can be done that way, and the trust will be there because the people know that they're putting the money into the government. Government officials are not going to take their money and just buy cars with it or spend it on girlfriends. But that's one method to build trust. And so, but I would, if you permit me, I would like to go into my
Go ahead.
So I piggybacking off of Dr. Davis and Reverend Lloyd, they said pretty much everything, so it made it a little bit harder for me. But I will give my perspective on the solution for working at home and abroad with diaspora Liberians and local Liberians. I tend to look at it from two perspectives. The solutions now. I tend to look at the local solution as solution at home and and a solution from abroad. So I jotted down about 5 things that can be done at home. I think most Dr. Davis, Ms. Kier, and Reverend Lloyd spoke about it, but I'll just add my own flavor to it. The first thing is the willpower to enforce the rule of law. I mentioned it earlier. Liberia is pretty much a lawless state. You can do pretty much anything. Somebody can kill somebody and they go to jail, they get free after a few months. We do not enforce the law. That can never happen in the United States. Like recently, there was an American citizen that allegedly impregnated a Liberian girl and was in the process of murdering her and slit her throat. That we saw the videos and we saw the interviews from him, the girl, and the mother. Right now, he's in prison, but will justice be done for that girl, Jessica? We don't know. We've seen these things so many times, like even foreigners, like Liberian girls that have been killed, allegedly by Lebanese. This Cooper girl, she was killed right at Yedere Junction. Mm-hmm. What happened? The alleged perpetrator went scot-free. So all these things happen because there's the rule of law is not enforced, and the government is primarily responsible for that. You got to protect your people. So for us, at home and abroad, for our relationships to be strengthened, the government plays a major role. You got to enforce the rule of law to create trust, to create confidence, and these things are lacking in our country. And number 2 is to empower the LACC. Corruption. Former President Ellen Johnson said corruption was our #1 enemy. She said so many times, and she admitted that she failed the fight against corruption.
Because she was a part of it.
Exactly. The body that is responsible for adjudicating corruption cases, the LACC, is very, very weak. I read the LACC Act. I listened to Councilors Jerome Verdier and James Verdier. And the LACC Act, they pretty much do not have any prosecutorial powers. So all the LACC does is somebody is someone does some corruption act and the person has been reported. Pretty much what the LACC does is go and arrest, then they turn them over to the courts, and the cases are adjudicated at the courts. 99% of the time, nothing happens. I mentioned the Sable mining case earlier. You're talking about 950,000 bribe was allegedly given to Councilor Brandon Sherman, the current senator of Grand Kima County, to change our PPCC laws so that our Sable mining company could mine Wologisi Mountain. That case, from 2016 to 2019, nothing happened to West Scot-free. So the LACC is just there by name. It's like a particular bulldog. They don't have any prosecutorial powers. They don't adjudicate cases swiftly. One case will take about 5 or 6 years. At the end of the day, it just gets lost in the judicial system, and that's it. People walk scot-free. So for the diaspora Liberians and the Liberians at home to work together, those things in the government should be really, really looked at. Those tenets of governance should be seriously addressed. The judicial system is so weak. People steal, people lie, people do whatever and get away with it once you have some money to bribe. So the lack of willpower, the lack of willpower to fight corruption. And the third thing I want to talk about is enforcement of the Liberianization policy. We have every rule, every policy in the book in Liberia, but we don't enforce it. The Liberianization policy, when I read about it, I was so happy. But however, everything in Liberia is monopolized by foreigners. We have the Lebanese, the Indians, even now the Chinese, Ghanaians, Nigerians. They run our country. They run the private sector pretty much unabated. Okay, monopoly is given to them to purchase, to import dry goods, to import rice, to import building materials. Subsidies are given to those people, subsidies that should be given to Liberians to do business. And because they give bribes, Lebanese men will tell you, your government is in my pocket. When I was in Liberia, my wife and I were having a traditional wedding. I went into the store. I saw the Lebanese man yelling at, an elderly Liberian woman. I was so angry, like I was about to go to the counter and charge them, why are you doing this? My wife like, no, you can't, don't do that. They'll put you in jail. I'm like, they ain't gonna put me in jail. I just want to ask him, why is he treating a mother? Why is he doing that to a Liberian woman who could be my mother? I was so angry. But these things go on, and these people, because they have the government in their pocket, nothing is done. The Liberianization law is just on the books. It's not enforced. Even the ease, the fourth thing I want to talk about, the ease of doing business. Before, it used to be so hard to even register a business, but now the government has improved it a little bit. It doesn't take too long to register a business. However, the loopholes, all the red tape, the difficulties, the intricacies in the system, it makes it so difficult to do anything. Thank God, most recently they had this dual citizenship bill that passed. So at least Liberians abroad, they have claim to a lot of things in Liberia. However, even owning, purchasing land is a problem. Having access to funds. Diaspora Liberians do have access to funds here. However, you also need access to funds locally. What is the purpose of the LBDI that should be helping Liberia? Why was the Liberia Agricultural Bank dissolved? In Nigeria, for example, the Agricultural Bank gives out loans to farmers. And I'm into cassava farming. I have a large cassava farming in Bone County. My dad and I, we process cassava. Okay, we even built a small factory that we want to expand. I have tried effortlessly to get funding from the local banks. Matter of fact, we have the last time I checked, we had 10 banks. Of the 10, only 2 are Liberian. Uh, if we call it a national bank, the central bank, I won't call it a commercial bank because it's a central bank. But the only other bank we have is LBDI. All the other banks are foreign owned. You go there to get access to funds, you can't get it. Even the Liberians are there. If you even do apply, I even apply for a bank loan, and I was told that 25% of the loan will be given to the bank or to those who did the application. So I was trying to get like maybe $200,000. If I take 25% of that, give to you, then how can I do business? So the ease of doing business is nearly impossible. Access to funds is nearly non-existent. Lebanese and other foreign nationals easily go into the banks and get huge chunk of money and do what they have to do with it, to do shipment of goods. Well, Liberians don't have access to those things. So why is the legislature there? So what can they do? Are they passing any passing any favorable laws that will empower the Liberians to be able to do business? Because some of us in the diaspora, yeah, we might have funds, but you need more funds when you start doing business. I learned it so quickly that overhead is so high in agriculture. At one point, I had 30 persons on payroll. I had to pay, and I started going into my salary, and it was strenuous. So that's why I started looking locally for finance. It was just difficult. At a certain point, we had to slow down and had to let go people. So a lot of people got angry because the small money I was giving to them, it was helping them with food and tuition for their children. So these are things that the Liberian government really needs to work on. In diaspora, we need to come together and push the government to ease of doing business, enforcing laws. Our government officials travel all over the world, but they follow the laws of those other countries to the T. But once we go in Liberia, it's just like we just flush everything down the drain, RIA, and we just do what we want to do. You know who I am. The bigotry is so prevalent in our country. And and another thing too, one thing the government can do is to prioritize the private sector. Right now, we have 70,000 Liberians employed by the government across the nation. We have about 5.5 million people. 70,000 is just a small. It's not even good 5% of the nation. And we have a huge population of young people, but majority of them are employed in the informal sectors. Everybody want to do business, and we don't have the formal sector. We don't have companies coming out there. We don't have formal businesses like Fortune 500 businesses that go over there, formally employ people. So that gap is huge. And this is where I think the diaspora Liberians can really tap into. So I will come to what I think I will mention that on the diaspora efforts. And then the last thing I want to talk about for our people is I just forgot one thing. One thing the government could do, I think if they do it, but I know they are afraid, I think they should do it, and we should push for it. And I'm going to be very, very bold about this. I think we in the diaspora, so long as that relationship bill passed, I think we should be given the right to vote. We should push for legislation so that we should be able to vote, absentee voting. Because in the diaspora, there are also 1 million Liberians in the diaspora around the world. And most of us are enlightened. Most of us will not be cajoled, or our votes will not be bought. So we will look at the candidates and scrutinize candidates and vote for the right person. But if we can vote, do absentee vote, and if the system is good and is fair, I think our votes will really help to put in the right people. Because sometimes we sit here and talk to a lot of people on the ground. For me, I've been campaigning. I don't want to go into the politics, but I got my candidate. I'm campaigning heavily for my candidate. And look, this guy has done X, Y, Z. He's the best person for you. And people are like, oh, you're not on the grind, you know what we're going through. I'm like, y'all go vote the wrong person, come back to us again. Oh, please help me with a small thing. And we've seen this individual has a stellar record, what he's done. And you, yet still, you don't want, you think that, oh, okay, I don't know him, you know? So, but and I don't want to go into the politics, but let me stick with the topic. So,
Okay.
so if we are given the opportunity to vote, I think it will go a long way in helping us choose the right candidates. Because if we, and a lot of changes need to be done with our constitution. Because our constitution, to be honest with you, I think it's antiquated. A lot of the rules a lot of the amendments that were made in the 1986 Constitution don't apply now. Like Article 97, giving amnesty to people in the PRC. A lot of the things that all those powers that were given to the president alone, and the country is not decentralized. So a lot of those things need to be changed for Liberia to move forward. Because if everything is just centralized in Monrovia alone, the rest of the country is just nothing really goes on there, and everything trickles down to them. By the time things trickle down to them, they don't have resources to work with. So the last thing I want to talk about that could be done at home. First, I talk about willpower to enforce law, empowering the LACC, enforcing the Liberianization policy, the ease of business, and writing favorable legislation, empowering us to vote from abroad, and adherence to the rule of law by the Liberian people. Our people do not follow rules. We are complacent. A Liberian man will throw trash on the street. Oh, why are you doing that? Oh, we will willfully do the wrong thing. Oh, you forget, but or when someone is to be punished, oh, you forget, but you leave it alone. Countries like the U.S. and other Western nations, if you do wrong, you do the crime, you do the time. However, in Liberia, ourselves, our people locally will start begging, begging, won't forget, but so we need to have some serious reforms when it comes to our law and adherence to the law. So now I think there's a plethora of things that we can do at home to improve things between the diaspora and the Liberians at home. But I want to focus on what we can do abroad. I will just talk on two things. I don't want to take too much time anymore. Number one, I think our government should improve or strengthen diaspora relations. Like I said, we have so many Liberian groups. Reverend Lloyd correctly said that, and Dr. Davis re-emphasized it. There's not unity in the Liberian community. The lack of unity is so loud. I mean, we fight petty jealousy, and we need to work on these. I think people like that, Reverend Lloyd, I think this is your area, especially those of you in the psychology, Dr. Davis, in the psychology, in the clergy. We need to propound these things in the churches and to really tell our people how these things are negatively impacting our communities. Because the pulpit is so powerful. My dad is a pastor, Baptist pastor, and I cannot tell you how so many times I heard him stand on the pulpit and preach, and people listen to him. So these things, I think we can address it from this unity. That's one place we can start. And accountability in the diaspora. I think what do I mean by accountability? We don't even have a database. We don't know who is who in the Liberian community. Ms. Kia talked about how we got 26% of Nigerians have secondary education. We don't even know who is who in Liberia, in the Liberian community, who has a master's degree, a doctorate degree. We don't have databases. We try doing it as engineers with some of my friends, but we don't have it. Non-existent. So how will you know who you have in the diaspora that you can tap into? The government needs to invest in that. Know who has graduated, when and where your educated people are, your not so educated people are. That way you have your pool that resource that you can tap into. So then when something is going on, you want diaspora librarian to do something back home, you have that pool. Okay, and then we should also form, like I mentioned earlier, endowment funds, trust funds. Sometimes some people don't have the time to go by library to do work. If you have something like an endowment fund or trust fund that is managed by big players like Chase Manhattans and all the wealth builders, they will create trust or build trust. People will put their money into it, knowing very well that, okay, I'm doing this project, or we are starting this light manufacturing company, or we're doing this other project. Our money will be used for the intended purpose, and the government and those third parties are working in it along with the Liberian investors. There's a young guy called Jala. He's into agriculture. He's trying to do something like that, but he's single-handedly doing it. And I enjoy listening to him, and I wish we could also, come out some incubation. We think about it and come up with those ideas and implement them. And then the last thing I want to talk about that we can abroad is to seize the opportunities we have abroad. Unfortunately, I'll be honest, we don't. There are a lot of successful Liberians in the diaspora, especially in the US. But how many Liberians have, on average, bachelor's degree, master's degree, PhDs, MDs, nursing degrees? How many? How many of our people are competent and really educated so that when called upon, we will go and just start doing work? Some of the businesses that we do, sometimes people carry goods. Okay, are they quality goods? What type of business? Do some Liberian even know how to do a business plan? Do they actually know the intricacies of doing a business? Do they know really what a business entails? Do they, in the US, do a lot of us have good credit that we can have access to funds here in the US or Australia or Canada or in Europe to get funds? So those are things that come to my mind. The other communities, they have been doing it, they're successful. So what can we emulate from those communities to improve things in our country? So if we do our homework, improve our competence as Liberians, educationally, financially, then it puts us in a better position to be able to make the case to Liberia. Look, this is what we've got. We can do this, and then and we can force the government to be able to help us to do X, Y, Z. But I think if we don't unite as a people, if we don't start working on those issues, be very bold and talk about what caused the problems and how we can mitigate these problems, it's going to be a very, very long time before we can start coming around to seeing some resolutions. So I pause here for now.
Kenan, I just want to say thank you so much. We are about 6:17 and we're supposed to be closing at 6:30. As I stated, we're going to have this discussion. You all going to be on. I think we have one, Dr. Geraldine Wilson, Geraldine Wilson, that will be joining us. And then we will continue this discussion on the 29th of October. Please put it on your calendar. Because we have a lot of questions here that have not been answered. But from the discussion, I think there was some pull from answering the questions. So that's very good. So what we're going to do now, and I beg you to just, we're going to spend 2-3 minutes each to just go around the table to talk about, we'll start with Dr. Edwin, Reverend Dr. Edwin Lloyd, regarding what you think people should be thinking about as they listen to us. What should they be thinking about? What mindset should they have from this discussion, and what kind of discussion Liberians in the diaspora and even at home need to be having now? And what is the takeaway from our first series of this discussion? So we're just going to go around after Dr. Lloyd, Reverend Lloyd. We will go to our own sister, Caroline Davis, and then you will be the last to just close out. What will be the takeaway from here? So, Dr. Lloyd, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I want to thank our brother for very extensively trying to give his part and give some valuable suggestions and information concerning the topic at hand. I just want to stay as Liberians, what can be at the back of our thought process, or in our thought process, is to see how what we can do individually, and using the influences, the connection we have to bring the community together, to unite us. What can we do? So it's very important. So what can you do individually to promote the togetherness of Liberians, or so that we can work together for a better future? So what can you do in your week where you are, and how can you use your influence, your platform where you are, to be able to foster uh, this endeavor? It's very important. So that's what this each and every person or each Liberian can do. All right. Another thing we should be thinking about is that how can we be advocate for the Liberian legislature to be able to try to enact a law that will create a bureau or a ministry that will be wholly and solely responsible for diaspora relations. Because we should be thinking about how we can get the government of Liberia and those in the diaspora to be able to be in constant dialogue and engagement, to be able to chart channels through which we can work together for the betterment of our nation. Those are the things we need to be thinking about. Well, the government of Liberia and the diaspora need to be in engagement, constant engagement, as to see how we can work together, because there is a demarcation, there's no togetherness. Also, there is no structure and system for working together. And so and that would be able to and draw focus to what we can do together. So we have a bureau or a structure that would be able to guide the interaction between the government of Liberia, the people of Liberia, and the diaspora. And so it's very important that we begin to think in that fashion and in that light. So we in the diaspora and those in Liberia individually can be praying and promoting that. And above all, as a religious leader, we have to pray. What we should be thinking about is how we can focus our prayer towards a peaceful election, and also a Liberia where everybody can work together for the common interest, because we have the expatriates or the foreigners are taking over our land and taking over our resources and taking over those things that have been established and given to us by God to be for us to strive, survive, and have a fruitful and a wonderful life. And so it has been taken away from us. And so how can we regain our country and take back our country and be able to enjoy the prosperity and the heritage that we have? It's a sweet land of liberty. And so how can we enjoy that sweetness? But we need to create that liberty we need for that sweetness to exist. So I thank you all. I have to leave shortly because I have to go into another service, a prayer service for Liberia. But just want to pray and pray for this platform and pray for Madam Kia for what she's doing. A wonderful work she is doing by creating this platform for us to come and exchange ideas. And I believe that a whole lot of positive initiative will come out of this, from the discussion we're having here that Madam Kia have established. And then and I hope that the initiative that arises from here will actually and eventually lead us to a brighter future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So we'll soon be leaving because we have about 7 more minutes to go. So we will turn it over to Dr. Davis to just give us any takeaway, and then we will turn it over to the next voice you'll hear will be David telling us what you need to take away from the discussion, and then we close.
All right, thank you so much. I will divert a little and just let you guys know what's on my mind is the elections that's coming up on Tuesday. And I know we are not addressing that topic, but it's a topic that's important to all of us. And I just like to appeal to the Liberians at home that will be watching this. We talked about this topic before, and the day has arrived. In 2 days, in about 48 hours, Liberians will be going to the polls. people. I told you people before, before you vote and sensibly. It's not about who's popular. In Liberia, we have a common saying: "A party that we will eat. We don't eat popularity." Okay, so I just like to appeal to Liberians. Think about your future. What is the quality of life that you're looking for? What is the quality of life that you want for your children? What is the quality of life that you want for your grandchildren? Just think about it. And you don't need to be a rocket scientist. You don't need to have a PhD, any kind of degree. Barack Obama always said, common sense. We need common sense government leadership. We need common sense. My dad always told us, you have to have common sense. You need common sense to make the decision that will improve your life. All right. So please, as you guys go to the poll on Tuesday, we are all here praying. We are all here rooting for you guys. We are living abroad, but our hearts are home. We are all one Liberia, one country. So as you go to the poll to vote, please vote sensibly. Please vote and know your future depends on it. Your children's future depends on it. If you like where you are right now, then then that's on you. If you don't like it, you gotta change. The people say insanity is doing the same thing over and over and hoping that something will change. So if we keep doing the same thing over and over and you hope that your life will get better, it won't get better. That's insane. So I just like to appeal to our brothers and sisters back home that will be voting. Don't be afraid. Go and vote sensibly. And Reverend Lloyd, the final thing I want to say, Reverend Lloyd said, the land of Liberia is a land of sweet liberty. All right, I love that. And the problem here with that right now is we don't have liberty. We don't have liberty in our country. And I told you, I taught a social study lesson last week to my students, and liberty was one of the words that came about. And liberty is the freedom to be able to do what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, and go where you want to go and come. Our people don't have liberty. The sweet land has become bitter because other people who come from different countries have more liberty, have more enjoying the sweetness of the land than the people that are there in Liberia. That's something that we abroad and we and Liberians at home need to work together to change that. To change that, we need to change that. The foreigners can be enjoying our country more than us. David talked about how he saw a Lebanese guy address an older Liberian lady as though she was nothing. I had that same experience. I just walk up to him and say, you be careful how you talk to these people and how you treat them. It's not right for you to talk to them. And he was saying blah, 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 blah. So my daughter just jumped in and she said, you can come to my country and talk to me like this, or interact with my mom like this, or talk to our people, because we won't be able to do it in your country. Well, the people know when you don't have a government that cares for its citizen, it shows in every aspect. So let us work together, Liberians abroad and Liberians at home. Let us work together. I believe with God on our side. And our national anthem, when we sing our national anthem, with God above, our rights to prove, we will over all prevail. We say that. We say that. We got to believe it. That one of these days, Liberia will shine again. I believe it. You believe it. And God will make it happen for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So David, will go quickly to you just so briefly.
So I just want to wrap it up with thank you for
Not hearing you.
thanks
Come
for
closer to
this.
the mic.
Thanks for the opportunity of wrapping it up. Thanks for you, Dr. Davis and Lloyd.
We're not hearing
Oh,
you.
you not hear me?
Yeah, I'm hearing you now.
Okay. Yeah. So thanks for the opportunity, Miss Gary. Thanks for Dr. Davis and Reverend Lloyd. It was great having this conversation with you all. I just quickly want to highlight two things that take away. I think two things that we can do. Reverend Lloyd talked about. I just want to piggyback off of it. I think we should, in the diaspora, we should find means to come together and pressurize or form groups or however way we make it work to propose laws that will be drafted and enacted in Liberia that will enhance diaspora and diaspora
Mhm.
and local
Engagement.
relationships. I highlighted some of those laws, and other speakers highlighted some of those things. So there are ways that we can do it. We can talk, we can contact local lawmakers and make it happen. Because if we don't do those, because we live in a legal world, a lot of those things have to be done legally. So we have to come out with the law and find out the procedures so we can enact it. And it'll help us. We will reap the benefit. And last thing I want to talk about is education. Ethics is lost in our schools, the churches, the mosques. They are very essential in educating our people on the values in in society. A lot of it has been lost due to the war. So we have to educate. Like this program is educative, and a lot of other programs I've been listening to educate the people. But in our curriculum in Liberia, they have taken ethics out. So we need to really strengthen the educational sector in informal education, formal education, and just educate our people on a lot of these things like Dr. Davis was just talking about. Voting. A lot of people don't know how to vote. They don't. Voter education is so minimal in Liberia. People just vote because, oh, I like the guy. So education is important. So those are things that I think we should work on in acting these laws and educating our people in all aspects of. So I'll pause it for now.
Okay, so we just want to take this time to say thank you to our listeners and those who will be watching later on. And right now, we're aware of some of the challenges that we are facing in the diaspora and the Liberians at home. We also highlighted some of the potentials for collaboration and positive changes that we need at home and abroad. We talk about the importance of unity. We stress the importance and then the reason why we should cooperate amongst Liberians, regardless of our location, political affiliation, um, that will lead to a brighter future for Liberia. And this can only be achieved and to like if we work together as community. I think the panelists, all of them stated it so well. We also talked about, I think where Lord alluded regarding us having one political party. I think what he really meant was that the fact that we know the situation that we're facing right now in Liberia. Because when I was going to school, our father and mothers were the one taking care of paying the bills and doing it. But right now in Liberia, you see a 15 years old is a breadwinner. Is that the way we want to live? So those are things that you need to look at, and I think that's where election education, civic education comes about. And this particular platform, Liberia, we collaborated with three grassroots groups in Liberia where we did civic education. Right now, we also collaborated. We are collaborating with another group that is doing the observation when it comes to election. These are things that this platform, that this organization is doing, and we're hoping that that will work out. Part of the reason for this discussion is for us to already have a group, and then Dr. Caroline Davis, a strong proponent of this, to make sure that we come together, bring up a proposal, write things, tell the government what is lacking. And I always state, you don't have to be 1,000 to do it. Few can come together and do it, and you can get a buy-in. That's how it works sometimes. So right now, most of the questions that are asked, we want to apologize, but we're coming back here on the 29th from 4:30 to 6:30 to be able to answer your questions. We didn't, this topic is just so broad. It's like an ending topic because there are a lot of things we need to do. But I just want to also, on behalf of the Librarian View, and to let you know that you've heard all the challenges, you've seen it. And I joined Dr. Caroline to state that, and the entire platform, that vote for Liberia, vote for the future generation. Don't vote selfishly for yourself. Don't vote for $20. Don't vote because somebody is dating somebody and you want them to be there, because that's not the life you want to live. When you're 50 years old, you won't even recognize yourself. because you want to change, you want to be educated, you want to have opportunities to go to school, to be a child again. You want an atmosphere that you can work, you can achieve, not to be used, not to be abused. So look at those things and vote right come Tuesday. Vote for Liberia. If you're in your 50s, your 40s, vote for the next generation, because 6 years added to your age, if you're 50, you're going to be 56. So vote for the next generation. Let's vote for Liberia so that we can at least strive to be on par with other African countries. I'm not coming to the Western countries. I'm looking at Nigeria. I'm looking at Ghana. The countries closest to us, even Sierra Leone right now is doing better than us. Why are we going to Guinea to go by? Because Guinea have a structure better than Liberia. That's why people say they continue there. People go where they can see opportunities to prosper and to make profit, not to lose everything. So let's vote right, and may God continue to bless us as a nation. This election, God, we just give all to you, because
Yes.
we just depend on you, because there's
Yes,
nothing we
Lord.
can do. Our
Yes,
dependence
Lord.
and everything is on you, because we know this
Amen.
time around you will make Liberia to win by the grace of God. So we want to say thank you to our supporters, our viewers. David, we say thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you on the 29th. For our supporters and all our viewers, thank you, and we hope your questions will be answered on the 29th. Thank you all. Thank you very much, and good
Thank
night.
you, Lucy. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
And
you,
we
Dr.
just, I'm
Thank you,
glad you
Mr.
committed the election to the Lord, and we are trusting the Lord. We are depending on Him. We committed to Him. The Bible says He's faithful to keep that which is committed to Him. We know God will intervene. There will be a
Amen.
divine intervention. They have their plots, but God's plan is greater and better than their plots. In Jesus' name.
Amen.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you so much.
Good night.
Okay. Thank you.
All
Good
right.
night.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah. Yes.